foraging update is finally here in Hypixel Skyblock. However, lots of people seem to be confused about where to start with foraging progression. So today, I'll be showing you the ultimate foraging guide, from starting out in the park to maxing out your Heart of the Forest tree. So, get your axes at the ready and let's get on to the guide. Well, the first thing you're going to need is some mods, and this is the mod pack I'd recommend. Personally, I would recommend the Skyblock Enhanced mod pack, and you can see the details on your screen now. It's available on Modrinth, which is one of the most trusted mod loaders for Minecraft, and there's absolutely zero risk of getting ratted or scammed or anything of that sort. So I'll leave a link down below, and also if you have any issues with the mod pack, you can join our Discord, shown on screen now, and we have the legitimate owner of the mod pack there to help you with any issues you have during the installation progress. So I'll leave that link in the description as well as the Discord. Go check that out and download the mods there. These mods are absolutely full of foraging features, so I would highly recommend that you go and download these mods now. So of course, as with any progression guide, you're going to need to get some early game gear, and of course this will take you some money. We're not talking about billions of coins like you can see in my purse. However, just 1 or 2 million coins will help start you off and get you a long way. There are 2 different gear options that you can go down. If you are super early game, just starting and only have a few million coins to work with, this is the gear that you're going to want to buy. First of all, you're going to want to get a tree capitator, which will cost you about 100,000 coins. The recipe for the tree capitator was made significantly cheaper with the recent update, so it's now incredibly cheap and the best early game option for foraging axes. You're also going to want to buy a level 1 epic ocelot pet, which will cost you about 300,000 coins. The reason for this is that it gives extra foraging wisdom, which will help you level up your foraging skill even quicker. You're also ideally going to want a boost cookie costing about 11 million coins, as well as also a god potion. This god potion will cost you just under 2 million coins, but will give you a huge stat buff, so I'd highly recommend it. These are basic necessities for doing anything within Skyblock. If you don't have them, you are just wasting your own time really. If you have some more money to work with, you can also get this setup, and bear in mind you should still have the god potion and boost cookie which I just mentioned. The first thing you're going to want to get is the fixed stone splitter, and this will set you back about 3.5 million coins. However, it is literally the best axe in the entire game, so I'd highly recommend it. You can upgrade this with things like the Moonglade Reforge, 5 stars, perfect gemstones or any gemstones for that matter, first impression 5, the absorb enchant, and arcane. Bear in mind it does not need to be as hypermaxed as mine. I would prioritise putting the Moonglade Reforge on, 5 stars, first impression and absorb. Everything else is not necessary whatsoever. And bear in mind this will require you to have foraging level 15, which only takes about 10 to 15 minutes of grinding, so not too hard whatsoever. You can also go for the Fig Armor, which will cost you about 20 million coins in total. This armor will give you a total of 120 fortune and 24 sweep without any buffs. You can also get the Forest Pledge enchant, as well as also perfect gemstones again. And again, this will require foraging level 15. The final gear you're going to need is the 3/4 Mangrove equipment. If you aren't rich enough, you can leave out the Mangrove grippers for now and just get the Vine and the Locket, which will only cost you about 2 million coins between them. Sadly, there's no Reforge which will buff their foraging fortune or sweep at the moment, which is a bit sad, but we're going to have to wait for future islands for that to happen. You're also going to need the David's Cloak. This is Swordband and we'll get onto this in a little while. The final thing you're going to want to buy is the level 100 legendary frog, and this will set you back about 42 million coins. Again, you can buy lower levels and level up yourself, but level 100 is max and will give you up to 180 foraging fortune with the correct buffs. Just make sure when you're using this, you're jumping at least once every 20 seconds to maximize the hop perk. And again, if you aren't rich enough, you can just wait to get this gear later down the line. The final thing we're going to talk about gear wise is boosters. There are 3 boosters which will affect your foraging equipment, and these are the sweep boosters, foraging wisdom boosters and foraging fortune boosters. You can put these onto any piece of foraging equipment, including your armor, your equipment, as well as also your axe. In total, putting all 3 boosters onto all 9 pieces of your equipment, axe and armor will give you a total of 30 sweep, 7 wisdom and 67 fortune. For the low price of about 1 million coins, this is definitely worth it, and probably the best cost to stat ratio of anything you can buy in the game right now. So this is the thing I'd most recommend. So now you have all the gear that you'll need, let's go over how to get to Galatea. To do this, you're going to have to go through some pretty boring quests, but I'll show you how to do them pretty quickly. First of all, you're going to want to come and talk to the lumberjack. He's going to give you a quest to go get some oak logs. Let's go and mine some oak logs, like so. And once you have them, you can then go and give them to the lumberjack. You can then go and make it onto the park over here. So just travel to the park just like so. You're then going to want to talk to Charlie, who's going to ask you a similar thing, to bring you some birch logs. So just go and farm some birch and then give it to Charlie. He will also give you the Charlie's trousers, which if you have not bought foraging armor already, will be a best option for foraging armor at the moment. You'll get similar quests to this all the way through the park, So I'd recommend that you go through each island and get the wood required for each quest. The game does a good job of explaining this, so I won't go over it in too much detail. Completing this quest will also give you access to your first Foraging Armor set if you've not already bought the Fig Armor. And this is the Park set, seen on screen now. This will give you plus 24 Foraging Fortune, however we are about to go and get new armor, so don't really bother with this. So just shove this in your wardrobe, never to be seen again. So now you completed the quest, so it's time to go to Galatea. Let's head over there now and I'll tell you what to do. Upon arriving in Galatea, you'll be met by this NPC called Hina. Talk to her and she'll unlock your Heart of the Forest. To start off with, we're only going to have Heart of the Forest tier 1. So unlock the sweep and put all of your forest whispers into this perk. Sweep is arguably the most important stat in all of foraging. You'll then be directed over to Swoop. He's going to talk to you about tree gifts. He's going to ask you to cut a tree and then you can go inside Swoop's menu. I'd recommend turning your sweep details on, as this can be helpful in seeing your sweep later down the line. You'll be then sent on a few hunting quests through the David Hunterborough NPC. The game does a good job of explaining these quests. You first go and talk to Odin and hunt a chill shot. You then go and talk to Jaeger and hunt a fish. And finally talk to Orion, who helps you hunt a phantom. After then doing all this, you'll then unlock the David's Cloak. And bear in mind, yours will not be nearly as good as mine and will be common when you first get it. To make your David's Cloak better, you can go inside its menu and you can see the David's Cloak option. Here you can see all of the milestones which will help you level up your hunting skill, as well as also make your David's Cloak even better. Give you Hunter Fortune, Sweep, Strength, Health, Foraging Fortune and more. The thing we're going to want to focus on in the beginning is this one, the attribute menu milestones. Here you unlock more sweep for every attribute menu milestone that you unlock. And it scales. The further you go along, the more sweep you'll get for each milestone. To get further progress in these milestones, you're going to need to unlock unique attributes. And if you're on a standard profile, you can buy these on the bazaar in the shard section. What I would recommend doing is buying at least the cheapest 30 attributes which are currently on the bazaar. And this should only cost you about 1 million coins. For example, let's look at this Azure shard. Let's buy one just for demonstration purposes. If we wanted to add this to our attribute menu, we would shift, right click, do /HB, and then click Mass Siphon. Of course, I've already maxed the shard out, so it wouldn't work for me. However, if you haven't, then this will add it to your attribute menu. Once you get 30 of these, you will unlock the advanced mode, which will then show you how to get each individual shard in the game. To max out this milestone, you will need 150 unique attributes. This will give you over 100 sweeps, so I'd recommend it. This should be something that you only do slowly over time. However, if you have a lot of money to burn, you can go and max this out straight away, like I did. To max out, you'll need to buy the 150 cheapest shards on the bazaar. At current prices, this will cost you between 40 and 50 million coins. Go through, find the really cheap ones and buy one of each. Then do just as I did and add them to your attribute menu, then siphon them. Now for the absolute final piece of gear which we're going to buy, I promise. We're going to talk to Amori, who if you come to the entrance of Galatea, walk forward, turn left, and then left again, you'll find him here. And here you can buy the Canopy Armor if you have not already bought the Fig Armor. Of course, Fig Armor is better, so keep that if you already have it. This will give you plus 24 sweep, and of course, as with any foraging gear, you can put the boosters on to make it even better. You can see the stat buffs in blue. So now you're all geared up, what should you be doing first? Well, of course, we're going to stick to fig trees and these Lushlilac berries before we go on to Mangrove and other things later on. To cut these trees, you're going to want to start at the bottom and work your way up the tree. Of course, I'm cutting them down incredibly quickly. Having a higher sweep will let you cut trees down more quickly. So you'll be doing it a bit slower, but the idea is the same. Start at the bottom, work your way up, and then cut down the branches. If you don't do this, you'll get a sweep penalty. If you go and cut down the top of the tree, as you can see in my chat, we had the wrong style, which gives us a 50% sweep decrease. So you have to start at the bottom and work your way up the tree. Also, whenever you finish cutting down a tree, you'll earn a tree gift. As you can see here, we cut down 100% of the tree, which gives us plus 5 rewards. And these are Forest Essence, Foraging XP, Heart of the Forest Experience, Tenderwood, and Forest Whispers. All of these will be nice towards your progression. Heart of the Forest Experience will help you level up your Heart of the Forest, of course, clues in the name. And this will unlock better perks for you to put your Forest Whispers into. Of course, Forest Whispers also drop from these tree gifts, and are useful in leveling up the perks in your Heart of the Forest tree. The Foraging XP will help you level up your foraging skill, and the Forest Essence can be spent in the Forest Essence shop. Let's show you where that is now. If you come to the entrance of Galatea over here, and then just follow where I go. We're going to go up to the top of that tower over there. And here you can see Rosemary. Inside of here, you can see the Forest Essence shop. I would prioritize the Axe perk, which will give you plus 2% stats on your Axe, Lumberjack, and Forest Trading. The other perks are nice, but won't affect your foraging progression. These are more aimed at hunting. Once you've maxed out your Forest Essence shop as well, you can sell Forest Essence back to the bazaar as well, for an extra bit of profit. Let's now go and talk to Agatha, who is arguably the most important NPC on the island. Go to the entrance of Galatea, then follow the route that I am taking. She can be found in the middle of this lake. If you talk to Agatha, you will see information about her contest and also the rewards which you get when you partake in them. These rewards are absolutely crazy, particularly the Foraging XP, Forest Whispers and Heart of the Forest XP, and this is the best way of progressing. Agatha also has milestones which will unlock unique rewards. To get the maximum rewards from this contest, you're going to need 1,500 points. So let's go over the easiest ways to do that now. For complete newbies who have little to no setup, I'd recommend the Lushlilac method. We're going to start in this area next to Orion, who you may recognize from the quest earlier. They're going to be these azalea bushes around the map, and every time you click one of them, you're going to get 3 points towards the contest. This means that in the 20-minute contest, you're going to need to break 500 bushes. This can be reduced by the Bullfrog Shard, which for every level of this attribute that you have, you'll get plus 10% points for the berries. Bear in mind though, this is very expensive, and you're probably best off to save this money for your foraging setup. However, it is an option if you want it. Each berry will also give you 100 Forest Whispers, which makes it a good method of getting Forest Whispers early on. Each berry will give you plus 100. You can get about 2,000 berries per hour, which equates to 200,000 Forest Whispers per hour. So even if you have a better foraging setup, I'd recommend doing this for at least 30 to 60 minutes just to get your first few Forest Whispers. And of course, after your first few contests, you'll be getting 45,000 Forest Whispers, not 30,000 per contest. That's only if you have Agatha's milestone 5, which will buff your Forest Whispers. But yeah, you'll get 45,000 Forest Whispers from here, as well as also 5,700 Heart of the Forest XP. As of course, you have the 1,200 Heart of the Forest XP daily bonus for the first 3 contests of each day. This will get you to Heart of the Forest Tier 2 and about a quarter of the way to Heart of the Forest Tier 3. Now, what should you be doing with these Forest Whispers? I'd recommend that you put your Forest Whispers into Sweep and Foraging Fortune. At this point, you will also have a Token of the Mountain spare. You can use it on Speed Boost or Strength Boost, but we would just reset it later on anyway, so not really worth the time and hassle. You should be able to get both these perks up to level 20. So now you're Heart of the Forest 2, you have some Forest Whispers and know how to get more. What should you be doing next? The simple answer is just carry on cutting down trees, and fig trees in particular. I would not recommend doing mangrove yet, as our sweep is still too low to consider it. So go and cut down fig trees just as I told you how to earlier. This will gain you Heart of the Forest XP, some Forest Whispers on the side, level up your foraging skill, as well as also of course your fig collection. And this will unlock you some new gear. If we look inside the fig collection, there are some items which you're going to want to get once you unlock them. The first of these is the fig hue, which may not look so crazy, but this will upgrade later on. So I would recommend crafting this for 30 enchanted fig logs and 2 sticks. At fig log collection 6, this can then be upgraded into the fig stone splitter. Currently, this costs 4 fig stones and 1 fig hue. And this is the best axe in the game, and this is what a hypermax one looks like. Next is the sparrow shard, and this can be crafted with 32 enchanted fig logs, 16 enchanted feathers, and 16 enchanted eggs. This is a decent shard, it's not that important, but if you want to get it, you can. Finally, at level 8, you will unlock the fig armor, aka the best foraging armor in the game. And this will cost you 24 fig stones in total, ranged in the normal shape of a chestplate, leggings, boots, etc. This will give you a plus 120 foraging fortune bonus above your current Canopy Armor if you've not already bought it. And this is what a hypermax set looks like. I can already hear people asking when this should move onto mangrove wood. And the answer is, once you have at least 300, ideally a bit more sweep. You're going to need to use a different method when cutting down mangrove trees. You're going to want to start this time at the top with the branches and then work your way down the tree, to the opposite of fig trees. Apart from that, the premise is pretty much the same as that with the fig trees. The higher sweep you have, the faster you'll mine this as well. This will of course give you progress in a mangrove collection. So let's go over what you need to get from this collection. From mangrove log level 1, you'll get the travel scroll to the Murkwater Lock. I highly recommend getting this, as mentioned earlier, it literally costs pennies. This will warp you next to Agatha. At level 3, you'll unlock the Mangrove Locket, which crafted with 20 enchanted mangrove logs and 32 sea lilies. This is definitely worth it as the first piece of your mangrove equipment. At level 4, you'll get the Mangrove Vine, the second piece of mangrove equipment. And this will require 80 enchanted mangrove logs and 1 enchanted sea lily. At level 5, we get the Mangrove Gem, which is the best reforge for your armor. And per piece, this will cost you 144 enchanted mangrove logs. And when maxed out, this will give you plus 5 foraging fortune, plus 6 if you have a recombobulator onto each armor piece. At collection level 7, you will unlock the Seagull Shard, which of course, similar to the Sparrow from earlier, is crafted with 32 enchanted mangrove logs, 16 enchanted feathers, and 16 enchanted eggs. Again, we recommend getting this to level 3 or 4 at the minimum, and this one is actually more important than the one from before. So ideally, this is the one that you focus on. At level 8, you get the Mangrove Grippers, which is the most expensive piece of mangrove equipment, costing 6 man cores and 6 enchanted sea lilies. However, definitely worth to finish off the set. And that's everything for the mangrove collection. You should now have every single piece of foraging equipment currently in the game. Of course, yours may not be as hypermax as mine, and doesn't need to be, but I'd recommend getting at least 5 citrine gemstones, Forest Pledge 5, the Groovy Reforge, and of course, every piece of equipment. From Agatha's shop, I would also recommend you get the Crow and Heron shards, as mentioned earlier. You should also get the Moonglade Jewel and apply it to your axe, as this will give you plus 12 fortune and plus 5 foraging wisdom. You should also get the Moonglade artifact, giving plus 15 foraging fortune for both logs. And of course, this is where you get the Forest Pledge enchant as well. Let's now show you how to level up and max out your Heart of the Forest tree. So obviously, your tree will already look like this with Sweep and Foraging Fortune unlocked. At Heart of the Forest tier 3, you're going to want to unlock Daily Wishes, but don't put any Forest Whispers into it. At tier 4, you can get Efficient Forager, Deep Waters, Foraging Madness, and Lothry. Lothry and Foraging Madness are really nice. Efficient Forager is decent if you want to level up your foraging skill quicker, however it's not necessary at all. At tier 5, you can start to level up the center of the forest, and this is done using some of your leftover Forest Whispers. I'd recommend getting up to level 3 at the minimum. It may take you longer to get the Whispers for level 5 though. This will give you some additional sweep, more Forest Whispers from cutting down trees, as well as also some tokens of the forest and Skyblock XP. You can also lock the Collector and Early Bird perks, as well as also, once you have the center of the forest, Tree Whisperer and Monster Hunter. At tier 6, you're going to want to unlock Forest Strength and Forest Speed, and these two perks are really nice. And finally, once you reach tier 7, which I'm not there yet, I'm nearly there, you're going to want to unlock Homing Axe and Maniac Slicer. You may also want to go for Hunter's Luck if you're doing hunting simultaneously to foraging. So it's between those two on where your final token should go. Of course, with these two perks, you're going to need to get 500 speed and 1000 strength. So let's go and show you how to maximize these two stats. First of all, if we come and talk to Maxwell in the hub, we can select our accessory power. Forceful is the best in the game for strength, so I'd recommend this one. If you have a lot of magical power like me, you can also run Bloody to give you a bit extra intelligence for when you're using the Maniac Slicer perk. You should also put your stats tuning into speed as well. Of course, you do not need as much magical power as me. I say anywhere from 600 or higher, it's possible to get to 1k strength, for sure. If you're really struggling for strength, you can buy 96 of these Azure shards, which will give you in total 50 strength when on Foraging Islands, which of course includes Galatea. When on Galatea, if we check our strength and speed, you can see that we have 1414 strength as well as 653 speed, so we clear the threshold comfortably, as should you hopefully. So now you know how to level up and maximize your Heart of the Forest tree. Let's talk about the final gear requirements and other miscellaneous stuff which you will need. First of these of course is pets. First of all, the frog pet is the best budget option for a foraging pet. When maxed at level 100 and legendary, it can give you up to 180 foraging fortune, as well as also some additional speed and strength. Additionally, it's the best pet for hunting with a hunting enjoy perk. So for only 30 million coins, this pet is definitely worth the money. The other option you have is the Jade Dragon, and we've made a video on this earlier this week. If you want to go see if the Jade Dragon is worth buying, you can go and check out that video. However, if you don't want to waste your time with that, it on average makes about 30% higher profits than the frog pet. Currently at level 200 will cost you about 1.2 billion coins, so it's a big price to pay. With more foraging content coming soon, I think if you have the money lying around, you might as well. However, if you are tight for money, I wouldn't recommend going for this right now. The best pet item is actually the Minus Relic. Hopefully we do get better pet items and cheaper ones in future foraging updates. The other niche option is the Ocelot pet for more foraging wisdom, however that's its only use. Only if you want to level up your foraging skill quicker. And of course the monkey pet is now severely outdated. Now let's talk about other miscellaneous ways of increasing your sweep, foraging fortune and skyblock stats. Starting out with attributes. Let's go through each attribute which will give you additional stats when it comes to foraging. First of all, the vampire. This will take 96 shards to max out, and when maxed will give you plus 10 sweep during the night. Very useful shard here. The fan flare is even better, and once maxed will give you plus 100 of both Fig and Mangrove fortune. So I would highly recommend getting this one. Next up, the Tadgang shard, and once maxed this will give you plus 0.2 sweep for every unique common attribute which you own. In total, there's 29 common attributes, so that's 5.8 sweep if this shard is maxed and if every other common attribute. Next up, we have the Heron, which we've already talked about, but of course this gives you more sweep towards mangrove trees. Plus 100 sweep when maxed. We also have the Crow, which does the same for fig trees but only up to 50 sweep. Both these shards are obtainable from Agatha's shop. Next up we have the Bamboo Leaf, which give you plus 30 sweep on throws when maxed. Its cousin, the Moki Bear, will give you plus 30 sweep on melee axe hits. We of course have the Sparrow and the Seagull, which will give plus 1 mangrove or fig fortune depending on which shard for every digit in your collection. This maxed out at 10 million coins, so once this shard is maxed out you can get a total of 90 fortune. And of course same goes with the Sparrow shard up here. Next up we have the Beacon Mite, which will greatly enhance the effect of beacons on you. We'll get onto this a bit more in a minute. We have the Pandora shard, which give you up to plus 5 foraging wisdom, and the Bambloom shard, which will give you up to 100 foraging fortune when maxed. Finally, we have the Galaxy Fish, which is insanely expensive, but if you're going 5 maxed, this will give you 10 foraging fortune, as well as also mining and farming fortune when maxed. But insanely expensive, so I don't recommend this for a new profile. So those are all the attributes which you can possibly buy. Again, I'd recommend getting them all up to at least level 5, which is fairly cheap. Ideally, you would max them out if you can, and this will give you the maximum foraging rates which you can expect to get. The next thing we're going to talk about is this beacon, which can be found at the coordinates on screen now. When you click on this beacon, there are two options. First, the tune frequency, and second, for the upgrade signal strength. I've already maxed this, but I'll show you how to do it anyway. For the tuning frequency, this is fairly easy, and with the Sky Honey mod, as you can see here, it's going to tell me what I need to do in order to solve it. So click this button once, hit this button 6 times, then pause it until they're on beat, and bang, there we go. It's to add 1 stack to the beacon, as well as give you 1 enchanted fig log and 1 enchanted mangrove log, as well as also the chance of dropping a beacon mite, the shard which I just mentioned. When maxed, this will give you plus 100% stronger beacon effects, and also the chance to drop signal enhancers, which are worth about 500k per from tree gifts. The upgrade signal strength can be done up to 10 times. It's basically the same thing as the previous minigame, but twice at the same time. And unfortunately, my solver does not work here, so you're going to have to work this out yourself. When maxed at 10 stacks in the beacon, you'll get 200 of each fortune. So well worth the investment and time. Also, you should be reminding people in your lobby to do the beacon, and then you'll make sure to get this 10 stacks as much as you possibly can. 200 fortune is absolutely crazy, and this makes it one of the best features in the entire game. The next thing which will buff you is the god temples. And again, I have a solver. Click the buttons as many times as it tells you to, just like so. Easy peasy. Find a few ones here. And then you'll be able to open the temple altar. Then you can donate to the Forest Starborn, and this will give you an additional buff. At the moment, from this, I'm getting 27 fortune, and you can donate for as long as you want. For example, if I wanted to do 50 days, I could. So I would recommend getting this for the extra fortune it gives you. Additionally, the more people that do it, the more fortune it will give. So if you haven't done it already, do make sure to go and do it as soon as possible. So I do believe that should conclude today's foraging guide. If you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, then feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And hey, if you got this far, why not consider liking and subscribing to this channel? It really does help us out, and we're pushing for 30k subs and the YouTube rank, and we're about halfway there. We're pushing for this goal before the end of the year, so every single one of you will greatly help us out. Also join our Discord for the mods that we offer, as well as also if you need any further help, and keep up to date with the rest of my content and guides and things like that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.